Section 6. Game Details. In Reefscape, two alliances, an alliance is a cooperative of up to 4 FIRST robotics competition teams, play matches, set up and implemented per the details described below. 6.1. Match Overview. Matches run on 7 to 10 minute cycles, which consist of pre-match setup, the 2-minute and 30-second match, and the post-match reset. During the match, robots collect coral and score on their reef. Robots also collect algae and score in their processor or net. Human players can score algae in their net once it has been passed to them via their opponent's processor. Robots conclude the match parking in their barge zone or suspended from a cage. 6.2. Drive Team. A drive team is a set of up to 5 people from the same FIRST robotics competition team responsible for team performance for a specific match. There are 4 specific roles on a drive team which alliances can use to assist robots with Reefscape, and no more than 1 member of the drive team may be a non-student. Blue box. The intent of the definition of drive team and drive team related rules is that, barring extenuating circumstances, the drive team consists of people who arrive at the event affiliated with the team and are responsible for their team's and robots' performance at the event. This means a person may be affiliated with more than one team. The intent is not to allow teams to adopt members of other teams for strategic advantage for the loaning team, borrowing team, and or their alliance, e.g., an alliance captain believes one of their drivers has more experience than a driver on their first pick, and the team agrees the first pick team will adopt the driver and make them a member of their drive team for playoffs. The definition isn't stricter for 2 main reasons. First, to avoid additional bureaucratic burden on teams and event volunteers, e.g. requiring that teams submit official rosters that queuing must check before allowing a drive team into the arena. Second, to provide space for exceptional circumstances that give the teams the opportunity to display gracious professionalism, e.g. a bus is delayed, a coach has no drivers, and their pit neighbors agree to help by loaning drivers as temporary members of the team until their bus arrive. Table 6-1, Drive Team Roles. Coach, a guide or advisor, max 1 per drive team. Criteria, any team member must wear coach button. Technician, a resource for robot troubleshooting, setup, and removal from the field. 1 max, any team member must wear technician button. Driver, an operator and controller of the robot. And human player, a scoring element manager. There can be up to 3 of drivers and human players combined. The criteria is that they must be a student and must wear a drive team button. A student is a person who has not completed high school, secondary school, or the comparable level as of September 1st prior to kickoff. The technician provides teams with a technical resource for pre-match setup, robot connectivity, operator console troubleshooting, and post-match removal of the robot. Some pre-match responsibilities for the technician may include, but are not limited to, location of the robot radio, its power connection, understanding of indicator lights, location of the RoboRio and understanding of its indicator lights, username and password for the operator console, restarting the driver station and dashboard software on the operator console, changing the bandwidth utilization, e.g. camera resolution, frame rate, etc., changing a battery, charging pneumatics. Blue box. While the technician may be the primary technical member of the drive team, all members of the drive team are encouraged to have knowledge of the basic functionality of the robot, such as the location and operation of the main circuit breaker, connecting and resetting joysticks or game pads from the operator console, and removing the robot from the field. 6.3. Setup. Before each match begins, field staff stage scoring elements as described in Section 6.3.4 Scoring Elements. Drive teams stage their robots as described in Section 6.3.3 Robots, and operator consoles as described in Section 6.3.2 Operator Consoles. Then drive teams take their places as described in Section 6.3.1 Drive Teams. 6.3.1 Drive Teams. Drive teams prepare for a match by staging in the appropriate areas according to their role on the drive team, and by identifying themselves accordingly. Drive team starting conditions are listed below, and a drive team obstructing or delaying any of the conditions is at risk of violating G301. A. Only drive team members assigned to the upcoming match are present. B. Only drive team members whose robots have passed initial complete inspection are present. C. No more than one human player is staged in their processor area. D. Any number of human players are staged in their corral station areas. E. Human players not included in C or D. Drivers and coaches are in their alliance area and behind the human starting line. F. Technicians are in the event-designated area near the field. G. Drive team members clearly display their designated buttons above their waist. Coach, drivers, and human players, drive team, and technician. And H. If a playoff match, the alliance captain clearly displays their designated alliance captain identifier, e.g. hat or armband. 6.3.2 Operator Consoles. Drive teams set up their operator console as shown as soon as the drive team from the previous match has cleared the area. Operator consoles must be compliant with all relevant rules, specifically those in Section 8.9 Operator Console. The operator console is plugged into the team's assigned driver station as indicated on the team sign. Any control devices worn or held by their human players and or drivers during the match must be disconnected from or set on or beside the operator console before the match can begin. A drive team obstructing or delaying operator console setup is at risk of violating G301. Blue box. For the purposes of first robotics competition, any device connected to the operator console is considered a control device because referees are not expected to differentiate between devices that can or cannot control the robot. 6.3.3 Robots. Drive teams stage their robot in accordance with G303. A drive team obstructing or delaying robot setup requirements is at risk of violating G301. If order of placement matters to either or both alliances, the alliance notifies the head referee during setup for that match, and the head referee instructs alliances to alternate placement of robots. In a qualification match, referees' instructions are that robots are placed in the following order: 1. Red driver station 1, 2. Blue driver station 1, 3. Red driver station 2, 4. Blue 2, then red 3, then blue 3. In an intra-division playoff match, the same pattern is applied, but instead of Blue Alliance placing last, the higher-seeded alliance, regardless of color, places last. For inter-division playoff matches, the alliance that places last is determined by a real or virtual coin flip facilitated by the head referee, where a heads results invites the red alliance to place last. Blue box. Field staff may ask teams to indicate their intended location and are not required to wait for a team to stage their robot in its exact location before moving to the next team. 6.3.4 Scoring Elements. Before each match begins, field staff stage scoring elements. Figure 6-2 coral mark locations and scoring elements staging positions. 6.3.4.1 Coral. 126 coral are staged for each match as follows. Reference figure 6-2. A. 1 coral is staged on each coral mark, 6 total. Coral are staged such that each coral covers the opposite ends of each coral mark. B. 1 coral may be preloaded in each robot for the robot's drive team such that the coral is fully supported by the robot, up to 6 total. A coral not preloaded in a robot is staged with coral in the corresponding alliance area. And C. Remaining coral are split evenly behind each coral station, 57 to 60 per alliance depending on how many are preloaded in robots. 6.3.4.2 Algae. 18 algae are staged for each match as follows. Reference figure 6-2. A. 6 algae are staged on pairs of branches as shown in figure 6-3, 12 total, and B. 1 algae is placed on top of each coral staged on a coral mark, 6 total. 6.3.5 Cages. Each team can choose the height of the cage closest to their driver station. By default, all cages are left in the state from the last match. At the start of each day, all cages are set as deep cages. If a team would like to alter the cage height, they must alert field staff during reset. Each team informs field staff of their preference for their corresponding cage height. 6.4 Match Phases. The first phase of each match is 15 seconds long and called the autonomous period, auto. During auto, robots operate without any drive team control or input. Robots attempt to leave their robot starting line, score scoring elements, and retrieve scoring elements. There is a 3-second delay between auto and teleop for scoring purposes as described in section 6.5 scoring. The second phase of each match is the remaining 2 minutes and 15 seconds and called the teleoperated period, teleop. During teleop, drivers remotely operate robots to retrieve and scoring elements and climb their cages. 6.5 Scoring. Alliances are rewarded for accomplishing various actions throughout a match, including leaving their robot's starting line, scoring coral on their reef, scoring algae in their processor and net, climbing cages, and winning or tying matches. Rewards are granted either via match points, cooperation points, or ranking points, often abbreviated RP, which increases the measure used to rank teams in the qualification tournament. All scores are assessed and updated throughout the match except as follows. A. Assessment of coral scored on the reef and algae scored in the processor or net continues for up to 3 seconds after the arena timer displays 0 following auto. B. Assessment of coral scored on the reef and algae scored in the processor or net continues for up to 3 seconds after the arena timer displays 0 following teleop. C. Assessment of cage points is made 3 seconds after the arena timer displays 0 following teleop, or when all robots have come to rest following the conclusion of the match, whichever happens first. Blue box. Leaving the robot starting line, coral scoring, algae scoring in the net, parking, and cage points are all evaluated and scored by human volunteers. Teams are encouraged to make sure that it is obvious and unambiguous that the criteria are met. 6.5.1 Scoring element, scoring criteria. A coral is scored in the trough L1 of the reef if it is not in contact with the robot and A. Contacting the trough, or B. Fully or partially supported by a coral in contact with the trough. Blue box. Figure 6-5 examples of coral scored in the trough L1. And then we can see we have stacks count. However, if they are not directly or indirectly supported by the trough, it does not count. A coral is scored on L2 through L4 branch if the end of the branch is inside the volume of the coral and the coral is not in contact with a robot or an algae. An algae is scored in a processor once it has passed through the opening of the processor and by the sensor array. An algae is scored in a net if it is above the net and within the perimeter of the net. If a coral scored in auto gets removed from a branch during teleop, the auto points are removed. If a coral is scored in that scoring location again, the auto points associated with the originally scored coral is restored. Coral scored in the trough is not tracked by specific location. If a coral is removed from the trough after auto, the points removed will correspond to the lowest scoring coral, i.e. teleop coral removed first. If coral is rescored in the trough, points will be re-added in the reverse order, i.e. auto coral re-added first. 6.5.2 Robot Scoring Criteria. To qualify for leave points, a robot must move such that its bumpers no longer overlap its robot starting line at the end of auto. To qualify for park points, a robot's bumpers must be partially or completely contained in their barge zone at the end of the match and does not meet the criteria for cage points. To qualify for cage points, a robot must be contacting a cage with the exception of the anchor, not contacting the carpet, and make additionally contact only the following elements. A. Scoring elements. B. Another robot qualified for cage points. C. A partner robot contacted by an opponent in violation of G428, and D. An opponent robot. 6.5.3 Cooperation Bonus. In qualification matches, if both alliances score at least 2 algae in their processor, all teams earn 1 cooperation point, and the threshold for the coral RP decreases as described in Table 6-2. See Section 10.5.3 Qualification Ranking for more information about cooperation influence on qualification ranking order. 6.5.4 Point Values. Point values for tasks in Rescape are detailed in Table 6-2. During auto, a leave is worth 3 points. During auto, coral L1 is 3 points, L2 is 4, L3 is 6, and L4 is 7. During teleop, L1 is 2, 3, 4, and 5 for L1 through L4 respectively. Algae. If it's scored in the processor, it's worth 6 in teleop and auto. And if it's scored in the net, it's worth 4 in teleop and auto. Barge. Parking in the barge zone is worth 2 points. Off the ground via shallow cage is worth 6 points. And off the ground via deep cage is worth 12 points. The cooperation bonus, at least 2 algae are scored in each processor, and you get a cooperation point. Auto RP, all enabled robots leave and are at least 1 coral scored in auto. Coral RP, if at least 5 coral scored on each level, if cooperation achieved at least 5 coral scored on at least 3 levels. Barge RP, at least 14 barge points are scored. Win, completing a match with more match points than your opponent is worth 3 ranking points. A tie, completing a match with the same number of match points as your opponent, is worth 1 ranking point. For district championship and or first championship events, the coral and barge RP requirements may increase. 6.6. Violations. Upon any instance of a rule violation, unless otherwise noted, 1 or more of the penalties listed in Table 6-3 are assessed. All rules throughout the game rules section are called as perceived by a referee. Section 6, Game Details. Table 6-3, Rule Violations. Minor foul, a credit of 2 points towards the opponent's match point total. Major foul, a credit of 6 points towards the opponent's match point total. Yellow card, issued by the head referee for egregious robot or team member behavior or rule violations. A subsequent yellow card within the same tournament phase results in a red card. Red card, issued by the head referee for egregious robot or team member behavior or rule violations which result in a team being disqualified for the match. Disabled, if the state in which a robot is commanded to deactivate all outputs, rendering the robot inoperable for the remainder of the match. Disqualified, the state of a team in which they receive 0 match points and 0 ranking points in a qualification match or causes their alliance to receive 0 match points in a playoff match. Verbal warning, a warning issued by event staff or the head referee. 6.6.1 Yellow and red cards. In addition to rule violations explicitly listed throughout this document, yellow cards and red cards are used in First Robotics competition to address team and robot behavior that does not align with the mission, values, and culture of First. The head referee may assign a yellow card as a warning or a red card for egregious behavior inappropriate at a First Robotics competition event. A yellow or red card is indicated by the head referee holding a yellow and or red card in the air while the game announcer describes the violation. Yellow cards are additive, meaning that a second yellow card is automatically converted to a red card. A team is issued a red card for any subsequent incident in which they receive an additional yellow card, including earning a second yellow card during a single match. A single yellow card is indicated by the head referee holding a yellow card and red card in the air simultaneously after the completion of the match. A team that has received either a yellow card or a red card carries a yellow card in subsequent matches except as noted below. Once a team receives a yellow or red card, a yellow rectangle will show next to the team number on the audience display during subsequent matches, including any replays. All yellow cards are cleared in FMS at the conclusion of practice, qualification, and division playoff matches. Verbal warnings issued by the head referee are cleared after practice matches and persist from qualification matches throughout the subsequent tournament phases. 6.6.2 Yellow and red card application. Yellow and red cards are applied based on the following. If a yellow card or red card is earned prior to qualification matches, the referee may or may not be present during practice matches. With input from event staff, the head referee may opt to perpetuate a verbal warning or yellow card earned prior to qualification matches to the first qualification match for particularly egregious behavior. If the yellow or red card is earned during the qualification matches, that is applied to the team's current or just completed match. In the case where the team participated as a surrogate in the current or just completed match, the card is applied to the team's previous match, i.e. the team's second qualification match. If the card is earned between the end of qualification matches and the start of playoff matches, it's applied to the Alliance's first playoff match. If it's earned during the playoff matches, it's assigned to the Alliance's current or just completed match. Blue box. Please see examples of the application of yellow and red cards as shown in section 6.6.4 violation details. 6.6.3 Yellow and red cards during playoff matches. During playoff matches, yellow and red cards are assigned to the violating team's entire alliance instead of to only the violating team. If an alliance receives 2 yellow cards, the entire alliance is issued a red card, which results in disqualification for the associated match. If both alliances receive a red card, the alliance assessed the first red card chronologically is disqualified and loses the match. 6.6.4 Violation details. There are several styles of violation wording used in this manual. Below are some example violations and a clarification of the way the violation would be assessed. The examples shown do not represent all possible violations, but rather a representative set of combinations. Table 6-5 Violation examples. A minor foul, and the expanded interpretation is, upon violation, a minor foul is assessed against the violating alliance. For a major foul and yellow card, that would mean, upon violation, a major foul is assessed against the violating alliance. After the match, the head referee presents the violating team with a yellow card. For a minor foul per additional scoring element, if egregious, yellow card. Upon violation, a number of minor fouls are assessed against the violating alliance equal to the number of additional scoring elements beyond the permitted quantity. Additionally, if the referees determine that the action was egregious, the head referee presents the violating team with a yellow card after the match. If it's a minor foul, major foul if repeated, then upon initial violation in a match, a minor foul is assessed against the violating alliance. If the alliance repeats the infraction in the match, a major foul is assessed against the violating alliance. Assuming no additional infractions of the rule by the robot in that match, that robot has earned a minor foul and a major foul for their alliance. Major foul, and for every 3 seconds in which the situation is not corrected, a major foul is assessed. Upon violation, a major foul is assessed against the violating alliance, and the referee begins to count. Their count continues until the criteria to discontinue the count are met, and for each additional 3 seconds within that time, an additional major foul is assessed against the violating alliance. A robot in violation of this type of rule for 15 seconds receives a total of 4 major fouls, assuming no other rules were simultaneously being violated. If it says a red card for the alliance, after the match, the head referee presents the violating alliance with a red card in the following fashion. A playoff match, a single red card is assessed to the alliance. In all other scenarios, each team on the alliance is issued a red card. 6.7 Head referee and FTA interaction. The head referee has the ultimate authority in the arena during the event, but may receive input from additional sources, e.g. game designers, first personnel, FTA, and other event staff. The head referee rulings are final. No event staff, including the head referee, will review video, photos, artistic renderings, etc. of any match from any source under any circumstances. 6.7.1 Question Box Q. Each alliance has a designated question box near the scoring table. If a drive team has a question about a match, the field, etc., they may send one drive team representative to their corresponding question box. Depending on the timing, the head referee or FTA may postpone any requested discussion until the end of the subsequent match. Technical questions regarding field or robot operation are addressed by the FTA, and additional team members are invited to participate in these conversations if necessary. If a drive team needs clarification on a ruling or score per Q101, one student from that drive team should address the head referee after the arena reset signal, e.g. field lights turn green. While FMS tracks quantities of minor fouls, first instructs referees to not self-track details about minor fouls and major fouls. As a result, referees are not expected to recall details about what minor fouls and major fouls were made and when they occurred and against whom. Blue box. Any reasonable question is fair game in the question box, and head referees will make good faith efforts to provide helpful feedback, e.g. how/why certain minor fouls are being called, why a particular robot may be susceptible to certain minor fouls based on its design or gameplay, how specific rules are being called or interpreted, but please know that they may not be able to supply specific details. Q101. One student, one head referee. A team may only address the head referee with one student. The student may not be accompanied by more than one silent observer. Violation. The head referee will not address additional non-compliant team members or peripheral conversations. Blue box. Some events may restrict Arena access to members of the drive team. Team members are permitted to swap buttons within their team as needed to access the question box. Laws regarding recording of conversations vary state to state and country to country, and in some cases, recording without consent may be criminal. Introducing the idea of recording a conversation with an implied reason of proving someone's error can escalate a discussion and is likely to increase its adversarial nature. Sometimes it's appropriate. Often it's neither appropriate nor constructive. Please do not record first event staff or anyone at an event without the person's consent, and please do not challenge the decision to decline consent to be recorded. First event staff are empowered to excuse themselves from an interaction in which they are being recorded after declining consent. 6.8. Other logistics. Scoring elements that leave the field other than algae via the processor are placed back into the field approximately at the point of exit by field staff, referees, FTAs, or other staff working around the field, at the earliest safe opportunity. Blue blocks. Note that, except for algae via the processor, robots may not deliberately cause scoring elements to leave the field. See G407. An arena fault, an error in arena operation described in section 10.2 match replays, is not called for matches that accidentally begin with damaged scoring elements. Damaged scoring elements are not replaced until the next arena reset period. Drive teams should alert the field staff to any missing or damaged scoring elements prior to the start of the match. Once the match is over and the head referee determines that the field is safe for field staff and and drive teams, they or their designee change the field lights to green and drive teams may retrieve their robot. During the arena reset, the arena is cleared of robots and operator consoles from the match that just ended. Robots and operator consoles for the subsequent match are loaded into the arena by drive teams, and field staff reset arena elements. First robotics competition uses 3 words in the context of how durations and actions are assessed with regard to evaluation of rules and assignments of violations. These words provide general guidance to describe benchmarks to be used across the program. It is not the intent for referees to provide a count during the time periods. Momentary describes durations that are fewer than approximately 3 seconds. Continuous describes durations that are more than approximately 10 seconds. Repeated describes actions that happen more than once within a match.